Chapter 52-63. The demonic voice was like the autumn rain. Yet it was also like the cold wind. It continuously attacked the Maitreya Buddha's world-exalted golden body. After an unknown amount of time, a soft pop. A speck of Buddha fire appeared on the Maitreya Buddha's world-exalted golden body. Although it looked thin, it was extremely tough. Pop! The Buddha fire reappeared. However, outside of the Buddha fire, devilish shadows appeared. The Maitreya Buddha's world-exalted golden body was no longer complete. The devils roared wildly and devoured the Buddha fire. Woo! Before the Buddha fire reappeared, otherworldly heavenly devils reappeared and extinguished the Buddha fire. After a total of 81 times, a lotus-shaped Buddha flame was finally lit up, and tens of millions of heavenly fiends were howling in the Buddha light. Amitabha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha's world-exalted Buddha forgot to chant his Buddhist mantras. He said softly, "This is the most difficult heavenly gate guidance I've ever seen." Fortunately, at last. Before the Dipankara archaic Buddha world lord could finish his words, a series of ghostly wails resounded from Mount Meru far away. A few black figures leaped across the sky and pounced toward the Maitreya Buddha world lord. Damn it! The Dipankara archaic Buddha's world-exalted Buddha yelled. I forgot that the 4 great continents have Mount Meru. Above Mount Meru, there's the sky beyond skies. Namu Maitreya. The Mahavairakana world-exalted Buddha couldn't help but chant the future Buddha Lord's Buddhist mantras. Junior apprentice brother. The mountain-like devilish shadows had already surrounded the Maitreya Buddha. The descending Buddha light seemed to have stopped in mid-air. Jiji. Countless devilish shadows came from the Pure Land. As soon as these devilish shadows appeared, the star formed by the phoenix parasol immediately stopped. The countless devilish shadows took advantage of this and entered the phoenix parasol's body. Outside the star, there seemed to be an endless number of heavenly devils that had transformed into starlight and were crazily yelling and dancing. The star started trembling rapidly. Damn it! Seeing this, the 5-colored sea god shell couldn't help but curse. Damn you old bald donkey. When the demon race's great sage shattered the void, where did the devilish tribulation come from? Their tribulations actually brought a demonic tribulation to the phoenix sage. We demons only know how to use strength to overcome magic. How can we know how to destroy demons? The vermilion bird nodded and said, the phoenix sage is in danger. What about phoenix sage? The flying feather void beast hurriedly looked towards another pitch-black starry sky. He looked at Huang Tong again. Her body was close to the realm barrier. A strange ripple came down, and Huang Tong's body shattered. The space shattered and countless souls fell through the blood light. Light and shadow floated, and a blood shell formed on the surface of Huang Tong's body. This blood shell sealed Huang Tong like a phoenix egg. However, he was different from Feng Wu. The blood-colored phoenix egg had just been hatched, and the test of heaven and earth had appeared. All sorts of illusions fell into the blood-colored phoenix egg just like Feng Wu. Such a test naturally could not affect Huang Tong at all. Just as the illusions were about to disappear and Huang Tong was about to succeed, the world suddenly turned dark. Huang Tong's blood-colored phoenix egg began to tremble. The souls that had been retracted flew out from various parts of the void and continued to pour in. After the souls, even more otherworldly demons flew over. They used the power of the souls to rush into the blood-colored phoenix egg where Huang Tong was. The phoenix sage is in danger. The 5-colored sea god shell shook its head. The ancestor once said that demons who cultivate their souls are more afraid of the soul backlash. With the help of the demons, these souls are much stronger than before. The phoenix sage will not be able to resist them. Just as the sages finished speaking, the heavenly demons of Mount Meru flew over. These heavenly demons from the heavens beyond heaven were even more powerful. Their bodies were darker than the heavenly demons, and their demonic aura was even stronger. The moment the heavenly demons rushed in, whether it was Feng Wu's star or Huang Tong's blood-colored phoenix egg, they all showed signs of collapsing. With the invasion of the otherworldly demons, the heavenly demons of Mount Meru swept away all the ascension tribulations. Although the dragons did not face any demonic tribulation when they ascended, the light cocoons of Aojia and Reverend Yun above the North Sea were also affected. Although the dragon aura could resist the onslaught of the extraterrestrial heavenly devils for a brief moment, It could not withstand the onslaught of the extraterrestrial devils, nor could it withstand the darkness, as the dragon aura had been weakened to the extreme. As the heavenly devils of Mount Sumeru approached the light cocoon with a ferocious smile, countless fiend marks appeared on it like water stains. Reverend Yun's light cocoon shone with a 9-colored glow, while strange dragon marks flew out from it like butterflies. On the other hand, fiend marks began to slowly seep into Aojia's light cocoon. On the hidden immortal continent, when the master of Shangqing Palace saw the aura of death approaching, he had no choice but to raise his hand and pat his head. His 5 energies rushed out and turned into the shape of Chao Yuan to protect himself. His 5 energies were born and died in the aura of death, barely holding on. In just a few moments, his 5 energies had withered, and his protective innate energy was as thin as a strand of hair. If it were any other time, Wen Chu's breath of life would have broken through his death realm, and it might have affected the death realm of the master of Shangqing Palace as well. However, with the arrival of the heavenly demons, the death realm was too eye-catching. Not only did the heavenly demons rush into the death realm, even the heavenly demons of Mount Meru were the first to rush in, as if the death realm was their homeland. The master of Shangqing Palace was severely injured, and his innate energy was exhausted. His mind was at the end of its rope in the death realm. The moment the heavenly demons invaded, the aura of death in the death realm immediately turned into tens of millions of knots. These knots fell on the master of Shangqing Palace like hailstones, as if they were testing him. Puff! One of the knots fell on the master of Shangqing Palace and fell into his body easily. Then the master of Shangqing Palace, whose eyes were closed, showed a joyful expression. He opened his eyes and called out, "Pear Blossom." As soon as he said that, countless heavenly demons laughed wildly and swarmed in. Pear Blossom. The body of the master of Shangqing Palace withered rapidly. Seeing his flesh and blood disappear, he could not help but say sadly, "I can't forget you after all." As soon as he said that, the master of Shangqing Palace turned into a skeleton. His head tilted, and his soul returned to the netherworld. Sigh. Although they were separated by the space of the tribulation, Wen Chu could still see the heavenly demons rushing toward him and the countless illusions. Ever since Wen Chu gained intelligence, he could not help but sigh in his heart. He knew that the master of the High Purity Palace was deeply in love with the Pear Blossom Fairy. He was afraid that the master of the High Purity Palace was doomed this time. As Wen Chu sighed, he really saw the body of the master of Shangqing Palace gradually turning into a skeleton in front of him. It was as if Wen Chu could save him with a stretch of his hand. Wen Chu hesitated. He did not know where to vent his third breath of anger. Above the 4 major continents, the heavenly demons of the extraterrestrial realm and the heavenly demons of Mount Meru gathered. All the cultivators who were undergoing tribulation were trapped in the demonic tribulation. Above the Nirvana world, the Mahavarakana revered Buddha in the darkness saw the Buddha light of Maitreya revered Buddha after 81 cycles of birth and death. He could not help but let out a long sigh. Phew! He knew that the Buddha light of Maitreya revered Buddha had been reborn. However, just as the Mahavarakana revered Buddha heaved a sigh of relief, woo-woo, a violent wind blew. The heavenly demons of the extraterrestrial realm swarmed over again. The remaining Buddha fire was annihilated again. The 81st cycle of Buddha fire was also annihilated. The Buddha light of Layin Temple declined rapidly. The expressions of the Buddhas changed. At this moment, at the seemingly critical juncture, a burst of wild laughter sounded in the pitch-black heaven and earth. Ha ha ha! I knew it! How can there be no heavenly demons coming out to join in the fun during this ascension tribulation? I left early to lure you guys into my trap. Since you guys are here, then obediently run into my mouth. Following this wild laughter, from the direction of the demon-resisting Valley of Dawn Rain continent, a demonic shadow that was even darker than pitch black rushed into the sky. Then demonic chi danced in the air as demon sovereign Shur revealed his demonic formation. This was a demonic formation that could trap the entire ruins. In the pitch-black darkness, it could easily trap Xiaohua and the other clones who were undergoing their tribulations. Freedom Heavenly Demon? Happiness Heavenly Demon? Demon Realm Supreme Demon Sovereign? Countless terrified cries came from the demonic shadows that surrounded Xiaohua. Devoured Maitreya revered Buddha, corroded Fengwu, and corroded Huang Tong. These heavenly demons were from the extraterrestrial realm and did not have a true body. It was extremely difficult for the mortal realm to eliminate them unless there were some specialized exorcism artifacts. They had not expected a demonic formation to trap them in the mortal realm. Furthermore, the demonic formation contained the aura of the sky of freedom and happiness melting heavenly devils. Especially the demonic body of the demon sovereign Shur, and the demonic saber in his hand. Which one of them was not a weapon that could kill them? It was just like how Xiaohua killed the spirit world's spiritual bodies with the Permitha realm. Needless to say, this demonic formation of demon sovereign Shur was used by the upper realm. How could the heavenly demons summoned by the ascension tribulation of the four great continents resist it? Even the heavenly demon beyond heavenly demon on Mount Meru couldn't resist it. Amid the horrifying cries, the voices gradually became softer. Although the demonic chi still soared into the sky, the pitch-black darkness gradually faded away. Namo Maitreya Buddha. The Dipankara archaic Buddha was surprised. Namo Maitreya Buddha. The Mahavairakana archaic Buddha was puzzled. They never thought that a demon sovereign would come to their aid at this critical moment. Moreover, this demon sovereign's aura made them feel fearful. Demon sovereign. Within the pitch-black darkness, the expressions of the ancient dome old man, bright moon householder, and the others gradually appeared. Realization flashed through their eyes, and they communicated with each other silently through their eyes. The demon sovereign that appeared in the heavenly wind forbidden grounds. Within the pitch-black darkness, another Buddha flame lit up within the golden body of the Maitreya Buddha. At this moment, the golden body of the Maitreya Buddha was no longer present, and the 9 lotus platforms had also disappeared. Only a fiery Buddha heart could be seen within the Buddha radiance. When the Buddha radiance flickered, the Buddha heart also started burning. The Buddha flame was so hot that it ignited the surrounding space. The heavenly demons that weren't devoured by demon sovereign Shur retreated, while howling in pain. Unfortunately, the void was already sealed by the demonic formation. Other than being devoured by demon sovereign Shur, they had no other choice. Oh, why is it a Buddha heart? The Mahavairakana archaic Buddha was also puzzled. Looking at the Dipankara archaic Buddha, both of their faces were filled with joy and confusion. It should be a Saraira, right? P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Chidian. Vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it and give it as a reward. Thank you for all your support. http://www. Chidian. Combook 10041444972. ASPX The King of Order Introduction 1. A divine artifact descended from the heavens, with a strange artifact spirit hidden within. An ordinary student, Su Ji, turned something rotten into something miraculous. Introduction to My name is Su Ji. On the surface, I am the CEO of the Order Company. In reality, I have a divine artifact within my body. I am a cultivator who cultivates by maintaining the order of the heavenly Tao. I am the future enforcer of the immortal world. I am the king of order of the sun star field. Xiaoduan Tanhua City's new book has already been completed. It is the first Xianxia novel with 16 million words. Those who are interested in the development of Xiaoduan Tanhua's new book can join the public WeChat account, Xiaoduan Tanhua, or join the QQ group to discuss the plot. 116565446, 1705713, 64. Chapter 5264. Without waiting for the Dipankara archaic Buddha's world lord's explanation, the Buddha's heart fell. However, when the Buddha's heart fell onto the 9 lotus platforms, thousands of lotuses appeared out of nowhere to support it. Wasn't that the Maitreya Buddha's virtuous lotus? Woo! The lotuses supported the Buddha heart and surged into the Buddha heart. Under the Buddha heart's Buddha light, the lotuses gradually merged and turned into golden liquid, dripping around the Buddha heart. Gradually, a Buddha golden body that was 100,000 feet tall miraculously appeared in front of the Thunder Sound Temple and little exquisite temples Buddhas. When the golden body was formed, devilish chi surged, and the demon lord's arrogant voice resounded. Everyone, I've already repaid everything I owed you. If we meet again in the future, don't blame me for being ruthless. After he finished speaking, Thunderous booms resounded in the sky. The demon lord howled. "Damn it, I haven't left yet. This devilish tribulation isn't over yet." Despite his words, the demon lord didn't dare to stay here. He retracted the devilish formation and devilish chi, and landed on the demon-resisting valley's mountain peak. At the mountain peak, Zhang Qingshao hurriedly asked, "Master, how's the situation?" "Damn it, how could I make any mistakes?" The demon lord cursed. "Your junior apprentice brother Xiao, my big brother, relied on my devilish formation." Hee. How could Zhang Qingshao not know that the demon lord was boasting? However, he only smiled and looked at the immortal world gate in the sky. The demon lord looked below the mountain peak. He wanted to break through the devilish world's barrier before the devilish qi dissipated. However, he was worried about Zhang Qingshao. How could he really leave? Looking at the Maitreya Buddha of the Pure Land, the Buddha golden body was formed by the virtuous lotus again. As if it had a pair of wings, it flew towards the Buddha light. Namo Dip Ankara Archaic Buddha. The Dip Ankara Archaic Buddha of the world finally chanted and smiled. "World Lord, the devilish tribulation of my Buddhas has finally passed. With the future Buddha Lord's strength, the mortal tribulation couldn't be disturbed. The final immovable tribulation was nothing." Namo Amitabha. The Mahavairakana revered Buddha nodded as well. "That's how it usually is. The immovable calamity is the easiest to pass for our Buddhist sect. However, in the face of the future Buddha Lord's strange tribulation, I dare not say much. Let's wait and see." Sure enough, just as he was about to touch the Buddha's light, shadows of mountains suddenly appeared above the Maitreya Buddha's head. "Ah?" The Dipankara Archaic Buddha, the World Lord, jumped up and yelled, "World Lord, strange things happen every year. Why did the unmovable tribulation change to Mount Meru? Mount Meru has 33 layers of heavens and many more." Before the Dipankara Archaic Buddha World Lord finished speaking, the Mahavarakana World Lord smiled and said, "World Lord, don't forget how the future Buddha Lord walked out of the Thunder Sound Temple and established his Tao arena in the small exquisite temple. This sovereign forgot about that thing." The Dipankara Archaic Buddha World Lord suddenly came to a realization and calmed down. He raised his head and looked up. Indeed, the Maitreya Buddha World Lord had a faint smile on his face. He raised his hand and took out the Seven Wonders tree. With a wave of his hand, tens of thousands of mountain phantoms shattered. The guiding Buddhist light swept away the mountain phantoms and landed on the Maitreya Buddha World Lord's body. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Namo Amitabha Buddha. Namo Dipankara Archaic Buddha. All of a sudden, thousands of Buddhas chanted. Heavenly flowers, Sanskrit chants, and heavenly dragons appeared. However, the strange thing was, just as the Buddha's light landed on the Maitreya Buddha World Lord's body, a ray of Buddha's light separated and flew across the sky, landing on Xiao Hua's head. "This is..." The Mahavairakana World Lord was stunned. Hee. The Dipankara Archaic Buddha, the World Lord, wasn't surprised at all. He smiled and said, "World Lord, don't forget that Xiao Hua is our Buddhism sect's Namo Great Merciful Guanyin Bodhisattva. Previously, I was thinking that if the Maitreya Buddha World Lord's heavenly door opened, what would happen to the Guanyin Bodhisattva's heavenly door? I didn't expect it to be like this. But..." The Mahavarakana World Lord hesitated for a moment and said, "If that's the case, there should be two heavenly doors." However, something strange happened again. Boom boom boom. Pillars of light descended from the Yilan continent, the Thousand Demons' sacred territory, the North Sea, the buried immortal continent, and other places. They all landed on Xiao Hua's golden body, sealing off the space Xiao Hua was in. The blinding light was so bright that no one could see what was happening within. The Devil Lord slaying devil formation flew across the sky of the Thousand Demons' sacred territory, and protected the Feng Wu's star and Huang Tong's blood-colored phoenix egg. After devouring the otherworldly heavenly devil, and the Meru Mountain heavenly devil, the devil formation retracted. However, the devil chi didn't dissipate. When Huang Tong's blood-colored phoenix egg came into contact with the world barrier, a blood-colored pillar of light descended and enveloped the phoenix egg. However, the strange thing was that at the same time, another blood-colored pillar of light ignored Huang Tong and went straight for Xiao Hua. Looking at the Feng Wu where the devil chi slashed, the star he transformed into almost touched the world barrier at the same time as Huang Tong. The pillar of light that was guiding the stars suddenly separated, and like a blood-colored pillar of light, it shot towards Xiaohua. What? What is going on? In the great sage hall, the saints were shocked. When they looked at the West Ocean, they couldn't help but cry out, "No, the Buddha Maitreya's Buddha light has arrived long ago." Reverend Yun was a body condensed from the dragon-cleansing liquid of the dragon realm. He was born stronger than the otherworldly heavenly devils. Although there were some devil marks on his light cocoon, they were all destroyed by the dragon marks. When the devil lord slaying devil's devil formation swept across, the heavenly devils that surrounded the light cocoon were brushed away like dust. Soon, the light cocoon returned to its original white and flawless state. On the other hand, Aogia's light cocoon was a little dark. When the devil formation came, it swept away the darkness inside, and the entire light cocoon returned to its original state. Aogia was only able to survive because of the devil lord slaying devil. Reverend Yun's light cocoon was the first to touch the world barrier. Boom! A loud boom rang out. The heaven's eyes 9 growth rings closed, and a huge golden pillar of light pierced through the world barrier and landed on Reverend Yun's body. Just like Feng Wu and Huang Tong, when the golden pillar landed on Reverend Yun's body, it split off and pierced into Xiaohua's body. It could only be said that the master of Shangqing Palace did not have enough immortal fate. Right after he fell, the devil lord slaying devil flew out while laughing loudly. When his body materialized, he laid out the devil formation. Seeing all the heavenly devils being devoured by the devil lord slaying devil, and the illusion of the master of Shangqing Palace vanishing, Wen Chu smiled faintly and breathed out the third breath of life. The death zone was filled with life force, and when the aura of death faded away, the death zone vanished as well. After the death zone, the book door appeared once again. But this time, the door was dyed with a golden hue, and the clouds that hung down from it had rolled up Wen Chu. Then a heavenly music rang out, and the scroll was retracted, with Wen Chu's body flying up to the door. At the same time, a golden beam as thick as 10,000 feet rushed out from the book door and enveloped Wen Chu. It looked similar to the Buddha Maitreya, the world sovereign, and the others. Then the golden beam appeared again and landed in front of Xiaohua's chest. Seeing the devil lord slaying devil formation withdraw and fly away arrogantly, Xiaohua did not know whether to laugh or cry. The devil lord slaying devil did not have good intentions. In fact, in order not to attract the attention of the heavenly devils, he did not warn Xiaohua and the others in advance. But because of his intervention, Xiaohua lost a good opportunity to restore his memory. Humph! Seeing Xiaohua like this, the Thunderbolt Immortal also smacked his lips and said discontentedly, "That brat Emoling is too hateful. I just wanted to be intimate with Princess Qingqing, but I was interrupted like this. Damn it!" With that, the Thunderbolt Immortal waved his thunder hand again, and the remaining black gas was also swept away by him. Whoosh! After the black gas disappeared, the 2 immortal world gates did not emit light pillars like the other ascension tribulations. Instead, a bright white light flew out like snowflakes. This light was similar to the black gas. Just as it left the range of the immortal world gates, with a whoosh, it was as brilliant as the rising sun. Hundreds of millions of light spots emerged from this light spot like fireflies falling into the space controlled by the tribulation lightning. Seeing this, the hidden Grand Mist ancestor sucked in a breath of cold air. Unable to suppress the shock in his heart, he cried out, Isn't this a death ray from a spatial fault in the immortal world? Looks like it's a sharp weapon that can wipe out all humans in that spatial fault. Although this death ray is broken, but it's still a death ray. Even the so-called immortals of the Tao cultivators would find it hard to resist, right? These immortals are really unworthy of being human. Damn it, the immortal world is so fierce, do I still dare to go there? The Grand Mist ancestor hesitated for a moment, but it only lasted for a moment. Then with a bitter face he muttered to himself, "If I don't go to the immortal world, where else can I go? These 3 continents are already filled with strange auras. If I leave a few days later, I will definitely be killed like the boy. Moreover, Xiaohua is already there. If I don't devour him, how can I return to the immortal world? Oh, there's a chance." When he saw an extremely blurry but incomparably huge face appear near the immortal world gates, the Grand Mist ancestor's figure flickered and disappeared again. He quietly moved toward the immortal world gates. As for Xiao Hua, he frowned when he saw the light and shadow sprinkling down and enveloping the entire space. The light and shadow emitted an aura that shouldn't exist in this entire realm. The 5 elemental tribulation lightning in front of him, and the 5 elemental primordial spirits behind him were all within his expectations. Even the earth elemental primordial spirit in the end had somewhat exceeded Xiao Hua's expectations. With Xiao Hua's understanding of the cultivators of the 4 great continents, very few people could avoid the Qilin's annihilation. Needless to say, the heavenly astral wind and the black killing aura were even more powerful than Old Man Guqiong and Bright Moon Householder. Now the white killing aura had appeared. This was not an ascension tribulation of the human clan at all. Not only Xiao Hua, but even Ji Yan's spiritual master and Kong Chong were also greatly puzzled. The black and white killing auras were absolutely beyond their knowledge, and had never been recorded in the history of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance. Yizhan was also frowning. However, when the light shone down and reflected the various scenes of the immortal world and the dense immortal spiritual qi, Yizhan's expression changed greatly as if he suddenly thought of something past. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian, vote for it, give it a recommendation vote, collect it, and give it a tip. Thank you for all your support. http://www. Qidian. Combook 10041444972. SPX King of Order Introduction 1. A divine artifact descended from the heavens and contained a strange artifact spirit. An ordinary student, Su Ji, turned something rotten into something magical and dominated the mortal city. Introduction 2. My name is Su Ji. On the surface, I am the CEO of the Order Company, but in fact I have a divine artifact in my body. I am a cultivator who cultivates by maintaining the order of the heavenly Tao. I am the future enforcer of the immortal world. I am the king of order of the Sun-Star Zone. Xiao Duan Tanhua City's new book has been completed. It is the first Xianxia novel of 16 million words. The Legend of the Cultivation God. Readers who are interested in the development of Xiao Duan Tanhua's new book can join the public WeChat account of Xiao Duan Tanhua, or join the QQ group to discuss the plot. Number 116565446, 1705713, 64. Chapter 5265. Fellow Taoist Yi. Kong Chong, who had been paying attention to Yizhan's expression, suddenly turned his head and asked meaningfully, "Do you know about this black and white killing tribulation?" This. Yizhan hesitated for a moment. When he saw Old Man Guqiong and Bright Moon Householder turn their heads to look at him, he pondered for a moment and said, "Actually, I've never seen this kind of killing tribulation. The ancient books and records of my Yi family didn't record this kind of tribulation thunder. It's just that this Yi suddenly thought of an ancient legend. Only then did this Yi have some understanding." "Old Ancestor Yi, please tell us." Bright Moon Householder asked politely. "Alliance Master, you're too polite." Yizhan didn't dare to be negligent and said in a low voice, "It's said that the immortals in the immortal world are divided into 2 categories. One is low level and the other is high level. The low-level immortals are the same as the cultivators of our Yilin continent. They cultivate qi, but they cultivate immortal qi, while the high-level immortals cultivate spiritual light. If that's the case, doesn't the black and white killing tribulation correspond to low-level immortals? And the white killing tribulation doesn't correspond to high-level immortals?" Hiss. When the cultivators heard this, they were shocked. Old Man Guqiong couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "So Taoist Xiao and the Thunderbolt immortal?" "It's just a wild guess." Yizhan waved his hand hastily and said, "The immortal ascension tribulation is the final test of the mortal world. It has many forms and strange methods. Who can say for sure? Since it's the white killing tribulation." Kong Chong smiled bitterly and said, "How can the cultivators of the mortal world escape from it? Taoist Xiao and the Thunderbolt immortal are in danger." All the supreme Taoist cultivators had the same thought. However, when Xiao Hua, who was enveloped by the white killing tribulation, sensed the strange and terrifying aura coming toward him, he didn't hesitate. Lightning surged around his body and he flew toward the immortal world gate with all his strength. After a short while, mottled lights and shadows appeared in front of Xiao Hua's eyes. Then, cloud-like fragments of the immortal world appeared in front of him. Good. Xiao Hua rejoiced in his heart. With a thought, he entered one of the fragments. Boom! Without waiting for Xiao Hua to stabilize himself, the immortal spiritual energy rushed into his body like a storm. Of course, this immortal spiritual energy was so domineering and powerful that Xiao Hua's meridians and body trembled. Oh! In his lower dantian, Xiao Hua's scattered nascent soul howled like a wolf. It opened its small mouth and sucked in the immortal spiritual energy like drinking water. As a result, the scattered nascent soul inside Xiao Hua's lower dantian began to violently swell. Ha ha! Xiao Hua laughed loudly. He released his consciousness and guided the immortal qi into the space. The 100 or so scattered nascent souls also began to crazily devour it. When Xiao Hua activated the escape art of light, the thunderbolt immortal also came to his senses. His whole body turned into thunderbolts and blended into the white killing tribulation. At this moment Buddha Maitreya, Buddha reincarnation, Feng Wu Huangtong, Reverend Yun, and Wen Chu had all entered the final stage. The entire 4 great continents fell into an indescribable fear. The vast sky was covered by tribulation clouds, tribulation thunders, and strange phenomena. A blood-red color was faintly emerging from these strange phenomena. When one looked at the ground again, one could feel a slight tremor like a heartbeat or fear. A layer of blue gradually gushed out from the depths of the ground. The thousands of cultivators in the 4 great continents were terrified, and the billions of ordinary creatures were even more unbearable. It was also in this place where the angel Zhang Jie had swept his eyes with extreme disgust. The wisps of black smoke had become extremely dense and were floating above the ground. They had condensed into a strange rune that was tens of thousands of feet long. This rune was emitting a strong aura of the netherworld. As the aura drifted, all the creatures in the vicinity were annihilated. Just when Xiao Hua and the Thunderbolt Immortal were enveloped in the light, the rune began to roll and turned into hundreds of millions of white bone fine lines. The fine lines condensed again and turned into tens of thousands of ghost heads. When the ghost heads were formed, a chilly wind came out of nowhere and sucked all the wandering souls within 10,000 miles into these ghost heads. Swoosh! As soon as the chilly wind fell, the ghost head in the center turned into a pitch-black dot. This pitch-black dot spun rapidly and formed a fist-sized whirlpool. Immediately after, the ghost heads nearby shattered one after another, forming layers of whirlpools. Dense ghost aura overflowed from these whirlpools. After half a cup of tea's time, the whirlpool was formed, and a vast aura came out of it. Boom! Amidst a loud rumble, a body of black smoke that was tens of thousands of feet long flew out of the whirlpool. Moreover, in this space of 10,000 miles, countless wisps of death aura gushed out from the whirlpool and supported this body. Gotcha! Before this body could stand firm, the laws of heaven and earth had already fallen from the void and hit this body. However, even though this body was enormous, and the rumbling sounds were also earth-shattering, it seemed insignificant compared to the tribulation lightning of Xiao Hua and the other clones. Aside from Zhang Jie, who was extremely far away, who had a look of disgust on his face, and who was surrounded by holy light that concealed his aura, it was likely that no one else knew that this figure had appeared. Although darkness covered the earth, this body's pitch-black color and scarlet color were even more intense than the darkness. Therefore, even in the darkness this body could be seen clearly. It was a sinister-looking ghost. This ghost's body was covered in an official's robe condensed from black smoke. This official's robe was very strange. In the midst of the pitch-black death aura, it presented a kind of terrifying scarlet color. The official's robe was engraved with a gray river and a sinister-looking ghost beast. The beast's head was like an ordinary general's armor, which protected the front of the ghost's chest. In the middle of the official's robe, there was an almost colorless robe belt. Looking at this ghost's head, it was wearing a red official's hat. On both sides of the hat, there were 2 ghosts transformed from death aura. They opened their sharp teeth and looked at the unfamiliar 4 great continents. Wasn't this ghost the underworld's judge? When the underworld's judge flew out, he immediately sensed the strangeness of the 4 great continents. He couldn't help but raise his head to look at the sky. A series of words that no one could understand exclaimed, "This? Is someone flying across the world? My goodness, this momentum is too great, isn't it?" After saying that, the underworld's judge sniffed around and muttered to himself in confusion, "That's not right. This world doesn't seem to have any wandering souls that haven't entered the cycle of reincarnation. Did I go to the wrong place? Then the underworld's judge looked at the lightning tribulation in the sky and slightly moved his body. Along with the surge of death aura, he arrived at another place. However, when he looked around again, the surprise on his face became even stronger. He frowned and said, "Damn it, I really went to the wrong place. There isn't even a wandering soul in this world. How could there be billions of wandering souls that haven't returned to the underworld?" Then the underworld's judge looked up at the lightning tribulation everywhere and laughed. "This world is lively. There are actually humans, demons, and dragons going through the tribulation at the same time." As he said that, the underworld's judge's robe shook and a scroll that was emitting thick black fog was taken out. Then, he took out the judge's brush in his other hand and pointed at the scroll. Shwa! The scroll opened, but there was another world inside. Waves of light were revealed like stars. This scroll was naturally the book of life and death. When the scroll opened, the laws of heaven and earth immediately changed. Hundreds of purple lightning bolts fell, but the underworld's judge's robe shook and an inexplicable fluctuation was produced, and these purple lightning bolts were destroyed. Hiss! Within the book of life and death, as soon as the star-like radiance came into contact with it, the 4 great continents were instantly annihilated and transformed into shadows. The infernal judge of hell gasped in horror and hurriedly tried to close the book of life and death. Unfortunately, the starry skies within the book of life and death had already disappeared without a trace. "Damn it, damn it, damn it!" The underworld's judge roared in a low voice and shouted, "Who dares to snatch people from the underworld? Is it the hell messenger? Or the hell messenger? Or the soul demon beast? These are billions of creatures. How can I explain it to the king of hell?" Without waiting for the underworld's judge to finish his words, Xiaohua and the Thunder Immortal flew out from the white light in the sky. Now the white brilliance had already dimmed, and there was no longer a terrifying aura. When Xiaohua appeared, the underworld's judge, who was stamping with rage, suddenly raised his head, and a fierce look appeared in his ghost eyes, and directly fell on Xiaohua through the layers of clouds and tribulation lightning. He was so angry that he laughed. "Ha ha ha. So you are the culprit who attacked this official's doppelganger. No wonder, no matter how I investigated that Duanmu Liangshang, I couldn't find any trace of him killing this official's doppelganger. If this official didn't come to this realm to investigate the situation of billions of wronged souls not returning to the underworld, I'm afraid you would have escaped. When you go to the upper realm of the human race, there will be something like the immortal mark in your soul, and the mark that this official's doppelganger left in your soul will inevitably be washed away. Heaven's net has a long grind and nothing escapes. See how this official will kill you today. Moreover, this official will take away your soul and let you suffer the pain of hundreds of ghosts devouring your body." Without waiting for the underworld's judge to move, boom! The gate above the Thunder Immortal and Xiaohua's head simultaneously emitted 2 huge golden light pillars, firmly enveloping Xiaohua and the Thunder Immortal. "Damn it!" The underworld's judge cursed in a low voice. "This official came too late. This guy is going to be led to the upper realm by the light pillar of the immortal realm." However, in just a few breaths, the underworld's judge's face revealed a sinister smile. "What a pity, although I don't know who you are. You actually reached out to stop me from killing billions of wronged souls that should belong to my underworld. How can this official let this go? Even if you have ascended to the immortal realm, this official will still catch up to the immortal realm and bring you to justice." The underworld's judge was naturally abusing his position for personal gain. At this moment, how could he know that Xiaohua was the savior who took billions of souls? As he spoke, he put away the life and death book. The judge's pen drew a strange ghost head in midair, then raised his hand and pointed at the ghost head's forehead. The ghost head howled and fell into the vortex of death energy. Following the ghost head's entry, the vortex of death energy rapidly shrank, finally turning into a black robe that fell outside the underworld's judge's body, covering that scarlet official's robe. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, gift. Thank you for all forms of support. http://www. Qidian. Combook 10041444972. ASPX, King of Order Introduction 1. A divine artifact descended from the heavens, hiding a strange artifact spirit. Ordinary student Su Ji turned something rotten into something magical, moving unhindered in the mortal city. Introduction 2. My name is Su Ji. On the surface, I am the CEO of the Order Corporation, but in reality, I have a divine artifact in my body. I am a cultivator who cultivates by maintaining the order of the heavens. I am the future enforcer of the immortal realm. I am the king of order of the sun-star field. Xiaoduan Tanhua City's new book. Already finished 16 million words. The first Xianxia novel, the story of the cultivation god. Book friends who are concerned about the development of Xiaoduan Tanhua's new book can join the public WeChat account, Xiaoduan Tanhua, or add the QQ group to discuss the plot. 116565446, 1705713, 64. Chapter 5266. Just as the judge of hell was sending the message to Dark Azura Palace, a few deafening booms rang out. A beam of light shot out from each of the spots where Buddha Maitreya, World-Honored One, Wen Chu, Feng Wu, Huang Tong, Reverend Yun, and Reverend Thunder were transcending their tribulations. Not only that, 3 beams of light also shot out from Xiaohua's light beam and landed on Dawn Rain Continent and West Ocean, enveloping Empyrean Sure, Celestial, and Taoist Witch. When the light beams landed, Xiaohua suddenly realized that his Naiwan Palace, Middle Dantian, internal organs, mysterious dark clouds, meridians, bones, flesh, and blood vessels had all disappeared. Intense pain once again rose from his nascent spirit and mind. Ah! As he screamed, Xiaohua couldn't help but be astonished. In just a few breaths of time, a perfectly fine person had been torn apart. All that was left was a naked nascent soul standing there shyly. 3 heavens beyond the heavens? Taoist, which was covered by the light beam. While he was still puzzled, he suddenly realized that the door to the 3 heavens beyond the heavens had opened for him. Ha ha ha! Celestial being was even happier. He danced with joy and said, I'm finally complete. Damn it. Archfiend sure cursed when he saw the light beam landing. I'm still a part of Big Brother. It's not what I thought. Now, even if Celestial being says it again, I won't believe it. This is recognized by the heaven and earth. Boom. Xiaohua's nascent soul was revealed. Lightning flashed around him, and his nascent soul avatar was revealed. Its aura was not any weaker than his physical body. Moreover, Xiaohua's nascent soul Dharma body had just been formed, and the pillar of light condensed by the laws of heaven and earth faded away. Above the Pure Land, in the eyes of the Maitreya Buddha World Zune, it was only a moment before the Buddhist light retracted and fell into the body of the Maitreya Buddha World Zune. The Maitreya Buddha World Zune's golden body followed the Buddhist light and flew into the sky. Inside Xiaohua's body, where Maitreya Buddha was born, the Naiwan Palace had already disappeared. Under the laws of heaven and earth, what belonged to the Buddha Lord was stripped from Xiaohua's body and returned to the Buddha Lord. The Sarira returned to its place. High up in the sky, the swastika symbol spun even faster. A lotus-shaped heavenly gate appeared. This heavenly gate was golden and dazzling, and there were countless golden swastika runes engraved on it. An indescribable benevolence emanated from it. Namo Maitreya Buddha. A loud Buddhist chant resounded before Maitreya Buddha landed on the heavenly gate. At the entrance of the heavenly gate, endless Buddhist lights rushed out from the gate. These Buddhist lights fell on the Pure Land world and turned into a sweet rain that fell on the earth. Namo Maitreya Buddha. Maitreya Buddha of the world stopped in front of the heavenly gate and turned around. He put his palms together towards the 4 major continents and chanted the name of Buddha. Thank you. A single word of thank you shook the hearts of billions of living beings, and the Buddha's fate and Buddha's roots silently sprouted. Looking at the Maitreya Buddha of the world, he respectfully put his palms together and piously stepped into the heavenly gate. At this moment, the Maitreya Buddha of the world suddenly stopped, as if he thought of something. Then, he slowly turned around and looked at the Yilin continent with benevolence on his face. Immediately, the Maitreya Buddha of the world pondered for a moment and raised his hand to point at the light behind his head. Woo! A drop of Buddhist light condensed like liquid gold dripped from the light. The Maitreya Buddha of the world raised his hand and flicked it. The The Buddhist light carried the mercy of the Buddha kingdom across the sky and instantly fell into the Heavenly Alliance's heavenly wind restriction. Boom! The Buddhist light fell into the heavenly wind. This Buddhist light carried the law of the Buddha kingdom and instantly shattered the barrier of the 10,000 demon realm. Moreover, in the Buddhist light, the Maitreya Buddha of the world had already contained the stabilizing power of the Yi family's space channel. When the Buddhist light fell into the 10,000 demon realm, the space channel also quickly stabilized. Namo Maitreya Buddha. The Maitreya Buddha of the world chanted the name of Buddha for the last time, and his other foot also stepped into the heavenly gate. Woo-woo. After the wind passed, the heavenly gate disappeared and the Buddhist light converged. The light in the Pure Land world also gradually returned to normal. However, the Thunder Temple still stopped in the sky and could not hide in the void. That's strange again. The Dipankara archaic Buddha of the world was troubled. He scratched his head and said, "The future Buddha Lord has already entered the Buddha kingdom. Logically speaking, the second transformation's golden body should immediately descend into my Thunder Temple. Why isn't there any movement? Could it be that he will descend into the small exquisite temple?" The Mahavairakana Buddha of the world looked at the other places in the 4 great continents. The ascension tribulation was also coming to an end. He said thoughtfully, "Maybe the ascension law of the 4 great continents has yet to fade, and the future Buddha Lord can't descend into this world yet." As expected, when Xiaohua finally entered the distorted heavenly gate, the Thunder Temple rumbled and slowly disappeared into the void. At the same time, the lotus cleansing pond in front of the Thunder Temple started surging, and a ray of Buddhist light shot down from the sky. Namo Maitreya Buddha. A familiar yet unfamiliar Buddhist chant resounded from the sky. The Maitreya Buddha of the world's figure appeared within the Buddhist light once again. Namo Amitabha. Namo Dipankara archaic Buddha. A smile appeared on the 2 Buddha Lords' faces. They went forward and clasped their palms together as they looked at the Buddhist light. However, who knew if this second transformation's golden body Maitreya Buddha of the world was the same as the Maitreya Buddha of the world who had just entered the heavenly gate. In the 1,000 demons sacred realm, the instant the Buddhist light faded, the starry moon pillar and the crimson pillar of light retracted. Within the stars, Feng Wu and Huang Tong's fleshly bodies were rapidly growing. Woo-woo. Above Huang Tong's head, millions of black and white thunderbolts appeared in the starry sky. Seemingly unparalleled gales also blew down along with the thunderbolts. However, the crimson phoenix egg that Huang Tong had transformed into was as stable as a rock. As it spun, it didn't move at all. Huang Tong's fleshly body was born from this crimson phoenix egg. Gotcha! Thunderbolts that resembled the heavenly river poured into the phoenix egg and landed within the 13,200 souls. Huang Tong's fleshly body emitted crimson light that was as blinding as the stars. The starry sky above was completely shattered, and a crimson whirlpool appeared. Within the whirlpool, boundless desolate aura poured out and landed on Huang Tong's body. Huang Tong proudly spread her wings and instantly flew below the whirlpool. Feng Wu was similar to Huang Tong. As the gales fell, the star that Feng Wu had transformed into did not even move, let alone spin. Along with the gales, Feng Wu let out a clear cry and proudly revealed her demon body. On the demon body, an aura that looked down on the world was surging. Boom! The body-shaping thunder suddenly fell and landed on the 13200 small dots. A huge whirlpool also appeared in the shattered starry sky. However, within this whirlpool, the stars were dazzling and unusually beautiful. Huang Tong proudly spread her wings and easily landed below the whirlpool. Whether it was Huang Tong or Feng Wu, they both looked at Xiaohua and then at the Yilan continent. They spread their wings and flew high. Half of their bodies rushed into the whirlpool in the starry sky. They didn't continue flying. Instead, like Maitreya Buddha and the world-honored one flapped her wings and the Demon League's star and moon pillar of light instantly rushed into the Heaven Alliance's forbidden land of split sky. She waved her sharp claws and similarly brought along the Demon League's boundary barrier and pierced into the Heaven Alliance's forbidden land of split soul. Seeing that the 2 boundary passages to the 10,000 demon realm had formed, the 2 great sages spread their wings and shouted, "Brother Xiao, what we owe you has been repaid. Let's meet again in the upper domain." Then the 2 great sages disappeared. The huge whirlpool slowly shrank until it disappeared. It was the same above the North Sea. When the golden light retracted, the light cocoon shattered instantly. Reverend Yun's dragon body broke out of the cocoon. This dragon body was completely different from before. Other than the golden light that had formed the body, it was also because Xiao Hua's meridians had completely entered Reverend Yun's body. Roar! Reverend Yun let out a dragon roar. As the golden light rushed into the heaven's eye, the vast aura of the dragon realm poured down from the huge heaven's eye. Reverend Yun's dragon body entered the heaven's eye. He suddenly turned around. Boom! A ray of light shone out from his dragon horn. Together with the aura of the dragon realm, it transcended space and fell into the Heavenly Alliance's forbidden land of Kongqiong. Another boundary passage was formed. Brother Xiao will meet again someday. Reverend Yun raised his head and let out a low roar. He rushed into the heaven's eye. When the heaven's eye closed, the golden light that illuminated the Dragon Island and the North Sea gradually disappeared. In the dim light, Ao Jia, who was supposed to rush into the heaven's eye, happily entered the dragon realm as the light faded away. The golden light was retracted. What could be different on the hidden immortal continent? A mysterious smile emerged on Wen Chu's face as he looked at the retracted golden light entering his body. Crack! All of a sudden the golden light trembled. Hundreds of golden thunderbolts fell like rain and smashed towards Wen Chu. If it were before, Wen Chu would have unleashed the heaven and earth pagoda. But now, he ignored the thunderbolts and let them smash into his body. As the thunderbolts fell into Wen Chu's body, wisps of golden light flashed out from the surface of his body. With each wisp of golden light, Wen Chu's body would rise by 1 foot. After a full hour, Wen Chu's body was completely covered by the golden light, and his appearance could no longer be seen. Dong! Another bell rang. The scroll rolled up and transformed into a lofty palace gate. A cloud flew out from the gate and landed under Wen Chu's feet, bringing him to the front of the palace gate. Wen Chu stood in front of the palace gate. Swoosh! Countless golden lights shot out from the gate. Countless golden auras turned into thousands of auspicious signs and fell towards the immortal palace and the hidden immortal continent. Wen Chu took a step forward and walked into the golden light. Then he turned around and waved his hand. The golden light turned into a flying sword and whistled across the sky. It went straight into the Dao Alliance's Flood Dao forbidden area of the Yilin continent. A spatial passage to the 10,000 demon realm was instantly formed. Wen Chu looked at the thunderbolts again. Xiao Hua and the Thunderbolt Immortal were still undergoing their tribulations. He turned around and entered the palace gate. The palace gate closed immediately and the golden light disappeared. Seeing that the Heavenly Court, Demon League, Buddhist Kingdom, and Dragon Realm's portals were closing one after another, the spherical celestial gate above the Thunderbolt Immortal's head also began to emit a rumbling sound. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please subscribe to it at Qidian. Vote for it, vote for it, vote for it, donate it, and thank you for all your support. http://www. Qidian. Combook 10041444972. ASPX, King of Order Introduction 1. A divine artifact descended from the heavens with a strange artifact spirit hidden within. An ordinary student, Su Ji, turned something rotten into something magical. Introduction to My name is Su Ji. On the surface, I am the CEO of the Order Company. In fact, I have a divine artifact in my body. I am a cultivator who cultivates by maintaining the order of the heavenly Tao. I am the future enforcer of the immortal world. I am the king of order of the Sun Star Field. Shaoduan Tanhua City's new book has been completed. The first Xianxia novel with 16 million words has been completed. Readers who are concerned about the development of Shaoduan Tanhua's new book can discuss the plot in the QQ group. 116565446, 170571364. Chapter 5267. Above the Thunderbolt Immortal's head, the star-like celestial world gate began to rumble and rotate. A huge silver-white vortex appeared. The previous gate gradually turned into fragments and fell into the vortex. The golden light pillar that covered the Thunderbolt Immortal suddenly shrunk like a giant hand retracting. The Thunderbolt Immortal followed the golden light and landed in front of the vortex. Like Maitreya, Buddha, and the other clones, the Thunderbolt Immortal took a deep look at this world. His eyes flashed with lightning and an indescribable feeling flowed with the lightning. Similar to when Chu and the celestial being, the Thunderbolt Immortal formed his human nature in the 4 continents. He had deep feelings for the 4 continents. Without any hesitation, the Thunderbolt Immortal stepped into the vortex and stood in the void. He raised his hand and grabbed. A beam of immortal chi turned into a giant lightning pillar. It rushed through space and fell into the forbidden land of Fuming of the Tao Union. Another world passage to the 10,000 demon realm was formed. Celestial being. The Thunderbolt Immortal, who was wearing a silver robe and whose appearance could no longer be seen, looked at the West Sea and laughed inwardly. I've made the passage for you. Let's see how you're going to *CK that little rabbit. After laughing, the Thunderbolt Immortal looked at Xiao Hua, who had landed in another celestial world gate, and shouted, "Fellow Taoist Xiao, let's meet in the celestial world." Regardless of whether Xiao Hua could hear him or not, the lightning Taoist turned around and entered the immortal world gate. His silvery figure disappeared, and the huge immortal world gate began to rotate slowly. The silvery white light disappeared, and the thousands of lightning bolts gradually disappeared. The immortal world aura that was pressing down on the 4 continents also disappeared quietly. However, at this time, the Grand Mist Ancestor, who was quietly approaching the other immortal world gate, suddenly revealed half of his panic-stricken face. His figure swayed, and he turned into a distorted light shadow that entered the immortal world gate. His figure swayed, and he turned into a distorted light shadow that entered the immortal world gate. His figure swayed, and he disappeared with the tribulation lightning. Damn it, what is this thing? How can it enter the celestial world at will? Behind the Grand Mist Ancestor, Hell's Magistrate's voice came from a thin wisp of black chi. However, the underworld magistrate didn't pay any attention to Huang Xiaolong's actions. Just like the Grand Mist Ancestor, he pounced on Xiao Hua like a bolt of lightning. Just as he was about to reach the celestial world's gate, the black chi formed by the underworld magistrate suddenly trembled. Half a ghost face emerged from the black chi, and he looked at the sky in disbelief. After seeing the dark red color, fear appeared in his eyes, and he muttered in a low voice, How is this possible?" The underworld judge only said 2 words. Then he didn't dare to stay in the air any longer. His figure flashed, and he landed in the direction of the immortal world gate where the Thunderbolt Immortal had entered. However, the underworld judge was still a moment too late. The bright silver vortex had already disappeared, leaving only the outline of the star-like portal from before. However, this was not a problem for the underworld judge. The black gas that this guy turned into fell into one of the lightning threads, and disappeared into another realm with the rolling tribulation lightning. The reason why Xiao Hua was half a step later than the Thunderbolt Immortal was because he still had one more thing to do. When the celestial world's gate above the Thunderbolt Immortal's head appeared like a vortex, the crisscrossing 5-colored lightning patterns above Xiao Hua's head began to intertwine. When they condensed in 2s and 3s, a golden word gradually appeared. Wasn't that the word Tao? When the word Tao was formed, the strokes in the middle turned into lightning, and gradually disappeared. A regular portal began to appear. When the door was formed, Xiao Hua suddenly thought of something. He hurriedly waved his hand and took out the Kunlun mirror and the Supreme Sky Mirror from the space. He raised his hand and pointed at the 2 magic treasures. Pillars of light shot out from the 2 magic treasures. As soon as the pillars of light flew out, whoa! The pillars of light immediately collapsed and surged like boiling water. Then, the golden light rushed into the Kunlun mirror, and the Supreme Sky Mirror more ferociously than a mountain flood. For a moment, the 2 magic treasures shone with golden light. Xiao Hua looked at the 2 magic treasures that were already empty. His hands formed a celestial seal, and according to the Kunlun sect's method of refining the Kunlun mirror, he struck the 2 magic treasures. When 2 golden and silver colors appeared on the 2 mirrors, Xiao Hua's heart was set, and he put the 2 magic treasures into the space. Then Xiao Hua took a deep breath and looked up. Now the hundreds of millions of runes were like butterflies, flapping their wings, and returned to the edge of the huge portal. With a series of rumbles, the immortal world gate finally opened, and Xiao Hua's figure landed in front of the portal along with the guiding golden light. However, Xiao Hua was not in a hurry to enter. Instead, he turned around and looked at the West Sea that seemed to be far away, but also seemed to be right in front of him. He raised his voice and said, "Disciples of the Fortune Gate, cultivators of the 4 great continents, the spiritual energy of the 4 great continents has changed, and it is no longer suitable for cultivators to live in. Before I leave with you, I will do one last thing for you. I hope that you can cultivate well in the 10,000 demon realm, and spread the name of the human race." With that, Xiaohua raised his hand, and several butterfly-like runes were caught in his hand. When Xiaohua waved his hand, whoa, golden light shone brightly, and it turned into a golden bridge that fell into the Tao Alliance's Xianpin Forbidden Land. The golden bridge carried the hope of the 4 great continents' cultivators, and it deeply penetrated the hinterland of the 10,000 demon realm. Another path of life for cultivators had taken shape. Then, Xiaohua looked in the direction of the Imperial Thunder Sect and the millions of Ming Mountains. After respectfully bowing, he turned and entered the gate of the immortal world. However, just as Xiaohua's figure submerged into the silver light, a sudden change occurred. Rumble! 9-layered lightning suddenly appeared above the door, transforming into a 9-colored dragon that bared its fangs and brandished its claws as it pounced towards Xiaohua. This 9-colored true lightning was 10 times more ferocious than the previous tribulation lightning. This! Xiaohua was shocked, and without thinking, he urged the unstoppable thunderbolt. Woo! The same 9-colored lightning flew out from the top of Xiaohua's head, and it condensed into a lightning that looked like the immortal slaying platform in midair, and it pounced on the 9-colored true lightning. When Xiaohua urged the unstoppable thunderbolt, he suddenly realized that this 9-colored true lightning was not a mutation, but because of his scattered nascent soul. When he was crossing the tribulation lightning, he relied on his physical body, and did not let his scattered nascent soul come out. Now that his physical body had disappeared, he could only rely on his scattered nascent soul to ascend to the immortal world. However, his scattered nascent soul had not really been baptized by the tribulation lightning. How could the gate of the immortal world let him enter the immortal world? Sure enough, although Xiaohua's unstoppable thunderbolt was powerful, the 9-colored true lightning suddenly formed at the gate of the immortal world, and its power was far beyond Xiaohua's imagination. After Xiaohua's unstoppable thunderbolt was destroyed, it pounced on Xiaohua like a wave. Damn it! Xiaohua cursed in a low voice. If he knew that his physical body would be taken away by Feng Wu, he would have brought his scattered nascent soul. Now this 9-colored true lightning was 9 tribulation lightning mixed together. How could his scattered nascent soul bear it? However, even if it could not bear it, Xiaohua still had to bear it, because the incomparable pressure of the immortal world's boundary made him unable to face it at all. Only when his scattered nascent soul was baptized by the tribulation lightning, and his immortal chi was completely born, could his scattered nascent soul survive in the immortal world. Rumble! The huge lightning flood drowned Xiaohua, and an indescribable pain came from the surface of his nascent soul. Moreover, this lightning wave was more than the previous one, and it had reached the limit that Xiaohua could not bear. At this moment a faint voice sounded, "Humph, really useless." Although this voice was separated by the barrier of the immortal world and sounded like distorted thunder, Xiaohua could hear it clearly. This voice was very familiar. Senior Su? Xiaohua could not help but feel warm in his heart. He seemed to recall that day in the Star Moon Palace, when Suji and Ferrixing you were about to leave. Suji had said, "On the day you ascend, I will come and pick you up." Swoosh! Following Suji's voice, the 9-colored true lightning that was about to destroy Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul suddenly disappeared. Xiaohua could see clearly again that in the distance, a tall silver figure was standing there. At this time the silver was no longer as dazzling as before. Xiaohua could see clearly that it was Suji. Xiaohua was overjoyed. He urged his body to fly out and called out, "Su!" However, just as Xiaohua's figure moved, a terrifying barrier force surged forth and firmly suppressed Xiaohua's scattered nascent soul. This barrier force surged forth and submerged Xiaohua's consciousness. Xiaohua's vision gradually turned black. However, just before Xiaohua fainted, he suddenly thought of something and his expression changed greatly. Xiaohua suddenly opened his eyes and looked at the smiling Suji. He shouted, You are not Suji?" "Oh." The silver figure was stunned and asked curiously, "How did you know?" Because Su Ji will definitely not destroy the public interest for personal reasons. Xiao Hua clenched his teeth and resisted the fainting force that surged over him like a tide. He shouted. He would rather watch me get turned into dust by the tribulation lightning than help me. Hee hee. Xiao Hua could only hear the cold laughter of the human figure in his ears. His consciousness gradually fell into darkness. Xiao Hua's body fell into the celestial realm gate. That Dao word slowly recovered. The crisscrossing lightning net also slowly fell into the Dao word. The last bit of the celestial might from the upper realm that enveloped the 4 great continents gradually disappeared. Just as the Dao word was about to disappear and the tribulation clouds also dissipated, the red color of the sky and the green color of the earth slowly converged into an enormous human face with only an outline. This human face swept across the 4 great continents, and then looked at the aura of the celestial realm gate. It sighed and said, I am still too late. After saying that, the human face also disappeared in a direction like the celestial realm gate. Following the disappearance of the human face, the red color in the sky disappeared, and the green color on the ground disappeared. In the far east, a rising sun had already accumulated power. When the scene of heaven and earth appeared, the rising sun leaped out and sprinkled the earth with sunlight. It was a new day in the 4 great continents. The book is finished. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark, reward, and thank you for all forms of support. Finally, after the book is finished, there will be a book satisfaction survey on the top right of the homepage of The Story of the Cultivation God. Fellow Taoists who have fully subscribed have the right to vote. If the satisfaction level is over 85%, the 3rd place will be rewarded. I hope that fellow Taoists who are satisfied can vote. Thank you. In addition, the 3rd place has a small wish. The Story of the Cultivation God has 16 million words. Up to this point it should have cost you a lot of Qidian coins. You can take a look at your own fan points. If you are not far from the Alliance Master 100,000 Qidian coins, and also like The Story of the Cultivation God, the 3rd place earnestly requests that you reward me with a small amount of Qidian coins to be the Alliance Master. Perhaps in the future, The Story of the Cultivation God will really become another legend of Qidian. This legend will be the legend of how many fellow Taoists gather together to form a tower new book. King of Order. http://www. Qidian. Combook 10041444972. SPX. Introduction 1. A divine artifact descended from the heavens with a strange artifact spirit. An ordinary student, Su Ji, turned something rotten into something magical. Introduction to My name is Su Ji. On the surface, I am the CEO of the Order Company. In reality, I have a divine artifact in my body. I am a cultivator who cultivates by maintaining the order of the heavens. I am the future enforcer of the celestial realm. I am the king of order of the sun-star field. Xiao Duan Tanhua City's new book has already finished writing the first Xinxiao novel with 16 million words. The Story of the Cultivation God. Fellow Taoists who are interested in the development of Xiao Duan Tanhua's new book can join the public WeChat account, Xiao Duan Tanhua, or join the QQ group to discuss the plot. 116565446, 1705713, 64. Chapter 5268. As the sun rose, the golden sunlight illuminated the waves of the West Sea. Taoist which stood up and stretched. He looked at the celestial being who was floating on the waves and said, "Let's go. Since Taoist Xiao and the others have ascended, why should we stay in the West Sea? You go." The celestial being rolled his eyes at Taoist Witch and said, "You go back to Mount Meng. I promised Taoist Xiao that I would guard the fortune gate for him in the 4 continents." The celestial being looked at the dawn rain continent in the distance and said meaningfully, "Of course, now that the 10,000 demon realm and the 4 continents have formed a passage, how can I still guard the West Sea? It's time to bring Lu Yi and the others to the 10,000 demon realm to see Little White and greet the great sages of the demon race." Taoist friend. Taoist Witch frowned when he heard this. "If you go to the 10,000 demon realm yourself, I won't stop you. But if you bring my fortune gate's disciples there, that won't do." After all, it's the 10,000 demon realm, not a place where we humans can stay. Don't forget what happened to the Profound Alliance. Don't worry, Taoist friend. The celestial being smiled. You are the 6th master of the Fortune Gate, and I am the 8th master. How can I not think for my disciples? Yuanya Fujiwen Lui Wang Bianfei Chong Yuan Yu Zhongchuan Xiong Yi Li Xiang, and the others are their disciples and our disciples. I will discuss this matter with them before making a decision. Taoist, which thought for a moment, looked into the distance and said with a smile, since the leaders of the Heaven Alliance and the Tao Alliance are here, they must be worried about the cultivation of the 2 great immortal alliances. We can let Fujiwen, Lui, and the others discuss with them. It won't be too late to move after we have a thorough arrangement. Of course, the celestial being shrugged. You think you're the only one who knows? Let's go and find Lui and the others. Let them discuss with the Heaven Alliance and Tao Alliance. You and I are not good at this kind of thing. Yes, we must do it as soon as possible. Taoist, which also nodded. Fellow Taoists, you left behind the last merit when you ascended. We can't let the demon clan great sage of the demon realm find out about it first. Otherwise, they may destroy the space passage. Following that, the heavenly being and Taoist Wu tore through space and landed in the Fortune Tao Palace. They were looking for Lui and the other Fortune Gate disciples, as well as Old Man Gu Qiong and the other Yilan continent cultivators. In front of the Imperial Devil Valley, Archdevil Venerable Shur looked up at the azure sky. His earlier soul-stirring experience had turned into a legend for the 4 great continents. He turned to Zhang Qingshao and said, "Let's go. It's time for us to go to our destination." "Yes, master." Zhang Qingshao got up, but after flying a few feet, she could not help but turn her head again. However, the sky was still the same, and nothing unexpected happened. Archdevil Venerable Shur wanted to reprimand her, but he could not help but take another look. Then, with a wave of his hand, Devil Chi appeared around him, and he rushed into the depths of the Imperial Devil Valley. He shouted, "There's no need to look anymore. If you have the heart, you should ascend to the Devil Swamp as soon as possible. Maybe you will have a chance to find Xiao Hua." Big Brother Xiao. On the Heavenly Gate Mountain, Huang Mengxiang also stood in the air. His eyes were filled with determination and he said, "Don't worry, even if you ascend to the immortal world, I will go back to find you. You are the only one in my heart." In the Imperial Lightning Sect, in the small mound that looked like a grave, Sun Shu looked at the sky and the earth for a long time without saying a word. Suddenly, a figure flew over from the distance. Sun Shu did not look back and asked indifferently, "What are you doing here? I heard that you have already contacted the Fortune Gate Spare Palm Sect and the others. Are you busy with the Rejuvenation Chamber of Commerce?" The person who came was naturally Qian Diheng. He smiled faintly and said, "Things have a priority. With the Fortune Gate in the Dawn Rain continent, my Rejuvenation Chamber of Commerce has nothing to worry about." He has ascended, right? Sun Shu looked at the earth and the sky again, and asked in disbelief. Qian Diheng nodded and also looked at the earth and answered. Such a vast ascension phenomenon shook the entire Dawn Rain continent. If it was not him, who could it be? He is a divine dragon. We can only see his head and not his tail. We will never be able to catch up to him. Sun Shu looked at the sky and muttered, "He is a legend." Qian Diheng also looked at the sky and said in a low voice, "He is also a savior. But in our hearts he is still our senior brother, our family. He has ascended, but he is still in our hearts." "Thank you, you can go now." Sun Shu forced a smile on his face and said, "I will stay here for a while, then I will leave immediately." "Okay." Qian Diheng did not hesitate and flew up into the sky. He smiled and said, "I will leave now, but remember, life without senior brother Xiao is still life. You and I still have to cultivate." "I know." Sun Shu glared at Qian Diheng and no longer paid attention to him. Myriad Thunder Valley. A group of disciples were still outside the cave. Zhuo Wu also looked at the sky, unwilling to look away. "Master's wife," Cui Hongshan said in a low voice. "Senior brother Xiao has already ascended. You don't have to look anymore." "Okay." Zhuo Wu retracted his gaze and looked at the disciples on his left and said, "Xiao Hua is the pride of our Myriad Thunder Valley. You all must remember that he is your role model. whether it is a person or a cultivator. Yes, disciples understand. The disciples of Myriad Thunder Valley answered respectfully, their faces filled with incomparable glory. In the entire Imperial Thunder Sect, in the entire Dawn Rain continent, except for Xiao Hua of Myriad Thunder Valley, no one had heard of any cultivator passing the tribulation and ascending to the immortal world. Million Meng Mountains in the Hutu stronghold, in the Whitebone Hall, Ziming was prostrating on the ground and touching the ground with his head. He was really praying to the statue of Hutu great god. At this moment, the door of the hall opened and Wu Lao came in. Wu Lao did not say anything, but floated in front of Ziming and kowtowed and prayed. Then he got up and looked at Ziming and said, "He has already gone." Ziming's body trembled slightly, but he did not raise his head and only asked in a low voice, "Did it go smoothly? If he can't pass the tribulation and ascend, there will be no more Taoist cultivators in this world who can ascend to the immortal world." Wu Lao replied with a smile on his face. Phew! As if he had been worried for a long time, Ziming finally let out a sigh of relief and kowtowed again. "Thank you for your mercy, Huda great god, thank you for your mercy." Wu Lao wanted to say more, but seeing that Ziming still did not get up, he sighed and turned around. Dawn Rain Continent, Elin Continent, Hidden Immortal Continent, Thousand Demons, Sacred Realm, Pure Land World, regardless of Taoist cultivators, Confucian cultivators, demon race, Buddhist sect, or dragon race, they were all talking about the Ascension Tribulation with great interest. The opening of the heavenly gates of the four realms, which had never been done before and would never be done in the future, would definitely set off a new peak of cultivation and would also uncover a new situation. Of course, this would also be the arrival of a post-Xiaohua era. However, everyone did not know that after the heavenly gates of the immortal world finally closed, another soul-stirring battle took place in a place that no one could see. The heavenly gates of the immortal world slowly closed, and the unparalleled pressure of the immortal world crashed down. Although Xiaohua's body emitted a silver light, that silver light was very thin, and the nearby lightning light was still slowly pouring in, as if it was desperately expelling something that did not belong to the immortal world from the scattered infant's body. Seeing that Xiaohua recognized him, that human figure flashing with silver light smiled coldly, and the silver light on his face seemed to peel off a piece of silk, revealing another face. At this time, Xiaohua's consciousness was already blurred, so how could he see this person's face clearly? That person also looked at Xiaohua indifferently and said, "You are very careful, but unfortunately, the heavenly gates of the immortal world have already closed. Do you have any other choice?" Damn it! Xiaohua endured a moment of darkness and said with difficulty, Su, what happened to him?" That person did not answer, and seemed to understand that Xiaohua wanted to fish for information. He only flew over and said, "Just take care of yourself, tell me everything you know maybe?" With that person waved his hand, and a bright silver immortal weapon flew out. This immortal weapon was like a rope, and when it flew out it gave birth to restrictions that Xiaohua could not match. However, before that person could activate the immortal art, he heard Xiaohua roar, "You dare to have ideas about your little grandpa? Go to hell for this little grandpa." While speaking, the 100 or so scattered infant that Xiaohua had previously collected into the space suddenly flew out. As soon as these scattered infant flew out, they immediately arranged the Golden Crow Immortal Slaying Demon formation in the space. Ah? When that person saw so many scattered nascent souls, he could not help being greatly shocked and cried out in shock, When did you all transcend the tribulation? Why didn't I know?" There was no need for this person to know anything. Just as the scattered infant flew out, the gate of the immortal world that had not yet disappeared shook again. Boom boom boom. More than 909 colored true thunders crazily rushed out, attacking the 100 or so scattered infant. Roar roar roar. The 100 or so scattered infant roared like Xiaohua, and all the spirits of the scattered infant showed signs of collapse as silver light rushed out rapidly. However, their faces were cold, and their eyes were like lightning as they looked at that person. Seeing hundreds of angry eyes looking at him, that person was a little creeped out, but he still sneered, raised his hand and pointed at the rope-shaped immortal weapon and sneered. "So what if there are more scattered infant? They just have more weapon spirits to refine immortal weapons." However, without waiting for him to finish speaking, the 100 or so scattered infant cast the immortal art at the same time. and the same thunderbolt was used. More than 100 immortal slaying stages flew out, and with the help of the Golden Crow immortal slaying demon formation, they condensed into a 9-colored immortal slaying stage that looked like a golden crow, and angrily pounced on that person. Seeing such a thunderbolt that exceeded his expectations, that person turned pale with fright. Silver light flashed all over his body, and layers of phantoms appeared, wanting to escape. Unfortunately, he was still too late. Xiao Hua had persisted for so long. Wasn't it to lure him over? Boom! The immortal slaying stage fell, and it precisely chopped that person's immortal spirit body. That person screamed, and the silver light turned into fist-sized runes that overflowed. Layers of grayish-black light and shadow surged out from the depths of this light, like boiling water. Seeing the immortal weapon that was like a spirit snake falling from mid-air, Xiao Hua's vision turned black, and he finally fainted under the mighty power of the immortal world. The miserable Xiao Hua not only set foot in the immortal world with the body of a scattered infant, but he also encountered a black hand as soon as he ascended. What was the purpose of this black hand? What was the situation of Su Ji and Fairy Xingyue? When Xiao Hua ascended, the Grand Mist Ancestor, the Underworld Judge. And who was that voice that made the Underworld Judge afraid? Who knew what Xiao Hua's trip to the immortal world was like? It really made people look forward to it. P.S. Fellow Taoists who like this book, please go to Qidian to subscribe to support, vote for a monthly vote, vote for a recommendation vote, bookmark and reward. Thank you for all forms of support. Finally, after the book is finished, there will be a book satisfaction survey on the top right of the homepage of The Story of the Cultivation God. Fellow Taoists who have fully subscribed are eligible to vote. If the satisfaction level exceeds 85%, the third place will receive a reward from Qidian. I hope that fellow Taoists who are satisfied can vote. Thank you. In addition, the third place has a small wish. The Story of the Cultivation God has 16 million words. Up to this point, it should have cost you a lot of Qidian coins. You can take a look at your own fan value. If you are not far from the Alliance Master 100,000 Qidian coins, and also like The Story of the Cultivation God, the third place earnestly asks you to reward me with a small amount of Qidian coins to be the Alliance Master. Perhaps in the future, The Story of the Cultivation God will really become another legend of Qidian. New book. http://www.qidian.com book 10041444972. ASPX King of Order Introduction 1. A divine artifact descending from the heavens. A strange artifact spirit is hidden within. An ordinary student, Su Ji, turned something rotten into something magical, moving unhindered in the city of mortals. Introduction 2. My name is Su Ji. On the surface, I am the CEO of the Order Company. In reality, I have a divine artifact within my body. I am a cultivator who cultivates by maintaining the order of the heavens. I am the future enforcer of the immortal world. I am the king of order of the sun-star field. Xiao Duantanhua's new book has already finished writing the first Xianxia novel with 16 million words, The Story of the Cultivation God. Fellow Taoists who are concerned about the development of Xiao Duantanhua's new book can join the public WeChat account, Xiao Duantanhua, or join the QQ group to discuss the plot. 116565446, 1705713, 64. Chapter 5269. The Immortal World Chapter of Cultivating Gods https. Book. Qidian. Cominfo 1010594608 Conquering the Path of Immortality. Stepping on the Watchtower of Gods. I want to be free. Cultivating the nascent soul. Casting the immortal body. Engraving the supreme immortal mark. The starry sky opens, the battle of gods, the depths of the heavens, the road home. I am Xiao Hua. This is the story of me moving mountains and overturning seas in the immortal world, creating living beings free and unfettered, immortal, and even creating the universe. Clouds as mountain ridges, fog as valleys, clouds as neon garments, stars as hairpins. For seasons of beauty, 1 yuan ends, 1,000 generations of the Mu Zhao Jun returns. In the immortal world, in a certain lofty mountain range, a heaven-piercing lightning pillar fiercely flickered under the red light of the scarlet crow Sunday. That lightning pillar was several tens of mu thick, with holes like immortal spiritual energy madly pouring into it. Inside there were arcs of lightning surging like waves. Within the arcs of lightning, golden lightning condensed into fist-sized balls that wantonly churned. The light of the lightning pillar not only covered thousands of li, but the sound of thunder also disturbed the secluded wilderness like a war drum. Sunset, thunder breath, the lightning pillar slowly shrank. When the dazzling flames of the lightning pillar disappeared, the lightning fell into the lofty palace. This palace seemed to be hidden between the boundless forest, but also seemed to be in another independent space. Left and right, the immortal mist was indistinct, unable to see the real thing. However, between the cornices and arches, one could clearly see that the palace had been in disrepair for many years and had collapsed. Although the palace was old, under the afterglow of the scarlet crow's sun, it still gave birth to layers of scarlet light. Within this light, there were fist-sized silver runes rolling, or arm-sized golden lights overflowing. Strands of enormous aura scattered in the surrounding lush trees and strange craggy rocks as if breathing. The immortal spiritual energy of the immortal world was extremely dense. Many places gathered into clouds, and there were even places where the clouds condensed into droplets. Any cave in the immortal world could be a heavenly paradise in the mortal world. In this kind of environment, the trees of the immortal world were even thicker. All of them were several tens of zhang thick and over 10,000 zhang tall. With trees like this, how could mountain peaks be low? Normally, mountains were several tens of thousands of zhang tall, not to mention lofty mountains and precipitous ridges, perhaps even 1,000,000 zhang tall. However, the trees here were slender, only several tens of zhang tall. However, on the surface of these trees, there were some faint runes that appeared and disappeared along with the flowing scarlet light. It was quite strange. As for the strange rock, it was densely packed with pearl-like objects. These pearl-like objects were the same copper color as the mountain rock, but under the crimson light, the copper color flowed like water droplets. Strands of golden light shone on them, revealing the shape of chains. Not only that, there were many strange rocks piled up, as if they were layers upon layers, but many times, these overlapping areas were actually folds, which should have fallen within the spatial faults. At this moment, an immortal beast that looked like a four-legged snake slithered down the tree. When it got close, it opened its mouth and coiled its blood-red tongue around the bead-like object on the rock like lightning. Just like picking a fruit, the bead-like object was swallowed by the four-legged snake immortal beast. The four-legged snake immortal beast had just stuck out its tongue again when it suddenly retracted it. It turned its head sharply and looked in the direction of the palace. At this moment, in the sky above the palace, the dark green Xiao Haoyu had just poked its head out a little. The four-legged snake immortal beast was obviously not an artistic person, so it did not look at the picturesque Xiao Haoyu. Just as it turned its head, a thunderous rumble came from within the palace. The entire palace began to shake violently, and the nearby mountain peaks and trees swayed as well. It was as if the earth was quaking and the mountains were shaking. Then the scarlet light rushed out like a flood, instantly covering the surrounding trees and rocks. The greedy four-legged snake immortal beast was also caught in it. Wherever the light passed, the trees and rocks instantly produced runes that flickered with scarlet light. Unfortunately, these runes flashed and disappeared, and the trees and rocks were destroyed as if they were rotten wood. If the rocks were like this, how good could the four-legged snake immortal beast be? It struggled with all its might, and specks of light flickered crazily under its scales. Circles of strange patterns rushed out like waves, but its struggle was so weak that it could not resist the impact of the light at all. In a moment it was minced into meat paste. Ah! Following another scream from within the palace, the light that rushed out retreated like a tide. When it returned to the palace, the crimson light dimmed a little. It was like the scarlet sun in the sky, but it had an additional feeling of the setting sun. After the scream, the palace regained its tranquility. Only the bleak night wind began to blow. As the light destroyed the trees that covered the palace, the entire palace was revealed. This palace had a radius of about 1,000 acres and a height of more than 10,000 feet. Except for the core part that was still intact, the rest of the palace had collapsed and abandoned. However, even so, the words "Reception Palace" could still be seen on the plaque hanging high above the entrance of the palace.